Okay guys, this is our second video in our subject-verb agreement series. And as you know, we were talking about problems in agreement. And I want to review this quickly with you. I want you to understand that problems in agreement are generally found in present tense verbs, progressive verbs, and the perfect tenses. You're not going to have a problem in agreement with past tense verb. You're just not. It's either with the present tense verb itself as a main verb, because you know there's no helping verb in present tense verbs, to decide between the singular and the plural. Progressive, the helping verbs, whether to choose is or are, or was or were. And then in the perfect tense, present perfect tense, whether to choose has or have. Okay. So that problem number one in subject-verb agreement was locating the subject. And we discussed that the prepositional phrase could come between the subject and the verb. Make sure that you can recognize prepositional phrases and mark those out, making your subject more visible. Here and there are not going to be subjects of your sentence. For our purposes, anytime you see here or there, it won't be the subject of your sentence. And then in a question, the subject will follow the helping verb and actually come between the helping verb and the main verb. Okay? That's the location of those subjects. All right, let's move on to problem number two. Okay, problem number two is going to be when you have an indefinite pronoun as the subject of your sentence. And what you will need to know is the number, whether a number means whether it is singular or plural. You need to write that down as a vocabulary term. Number means singular or plural. So you need to know the number of each of the indefinite pronouns. Okay? Some of the indefinite pronouns are always going to be singular, and I'll give you that list in just a moment. Here are some examples. Everyone is coming to the game. In this sentence, everyone is the subject. Everyone is always singular, and so you're going to choose the singular verb is. In the next sentence, somebody buys all of their supplies. In this sentence, somebody is the subject of my sentence. Somebody is always singular, and so you're going to choose the singular verb buys. Remember, we talked about the S being on the singular verb, and you see that here with is and buys. That will help you in remembering which verb is singular. Okay, so now here are some examples of how you might get confused. Look at this sentence. Each of the boys was or were sick. So in this sentence, each is an indefinite pronoun, and then we have this prepositional phrase of the boys. I want you to visually take that out of your sentence. Okay? Now look at it. Each was or were sick. Each is always singular, so you're going to take the singular verb was. Now, if I'm going to put that prepositional phrase back in there, this word right here could be highly distracting to you. And it might even sound right to you to choose the plural verb, but that would be wrong. Okay? This is in a prepositional phrase, and as you know, the prepositional phrase does not contain the subject. Okay, the next sentence on our list says one of my toes is or are broken. And again, one is going to be your indefinite pronoun as the subject of the sentence. It is always singular, and then you have a prepositional phrase. So we're going to ignore that for now. One is always singular, so I'm going to choose the singular verb is. And again with this one, because you have the word toes, toes is plural, it could throw you off. It could be a distraction and make you think and that it sounds right to choose are. But no, let's take the prepositional phrase out of the sentence and look at it now. One is broken. You would not say one are broken. You would say one is broken. So ignore the prepositional phrase when the indefinite pronoun is always singular. Okay? Very good. Moving on. Okay, next on our list, we have some indefinite pronouns that will always be plural. So let's talk about that for a moment. Many have come to the party. In this sentence, many is going to be the subject. Many is always plural. These are the easiest ones to determine. Once you learn this list, anytime you see them, it will make sense that there's no really way to confuse you with this. They will always sound right with the plural verb. So many you would use have as your plural helping verb here. Many have come. In the next sentence, few are leaving. Few is the subject. And with this helping verb, we're going to choose the plural helping verb are, because few is always plural. In the next sentence, now I have inserted a prepositional phrase. But you will see, even with the prepositional phrase, it's not going to throw you off like the singular ones would, because several is always plural, and more than likely you're going to have a plural object of the preposition with this, so it's not confusing at all. Several is plural, so you're going to use the plural verb keep. Okay? And this is when, again, it's important to recognize keeps is the singular, keep is the plural. So several keep a diary. And then the last sentence, both of my brothers is or are working. Both is always going to be plural. And so we're going to choose the plural verb are. Okay? And so those are plural indefinite pronouns. Okay, the last part of indefinite pronouns, I hope does not blow your mind, because it can. It's very confusing, and that's why I highly recommend that you might revisit this particular video on many occasions. You need to listen to this and listen to this and listen to this, because it is confusing. So the last rule of indefinite pronouns is that some of the indefinite pronouns they're labeled as either singular or plural. And the way that you tell whether they are singular or plural is by using the object of the preposition to determine if their number, they're singular or plural. Now, I know that in every other rule before, I have said do not worry about what the object of the preposition is. This is the only one. The list of singular or plural indefinite pronouns, and there's only 5 of them. This is the only rule where you have to look at the object of the preposition. Every other one, if it's singular, it's singular. Don't worry about the object of the preposition. If it's plural, it's plural. But there is a list of 5 that you have to look at the object of the preposition. And I'll go ahead and list those for you so you will know. I'll give them to you in a chart form in just a moment. It would be all, any, most, none, and some. That's your list. Okay, let's look at what happens. All right. You must look at the object of the preposition. Here we know all is the subject of your sentence. It's the indefinite pronoun subject. Here is the prepositional phrase of the papers. Papers is going to be the object of your preposition. Papers is plural, so that automatically makes all plural because it's in the list of S or P. I know this is confusing. Just keep going with me. Several will make a difference. So, papers is plural, so all is plural. We're going to choose the plural verb were. Okay? All of the papers were graded. Now look at the next sentence. All, again, is the subject. Of the tea is the prepositional phrase. Tea is singular. So we're going to choose the singular verb is. All of the tea is made. Okay? Keep going. Most is another one that's in your singular or plural list. Okay, so most is the subject of this sentence. Then you have the prepositional phrase of the class. Class is the object of your preposition. Yeah, there it is. Class is the object of your preposition. Class is singular. Okay, so it's going to make most singular. We're going to choose the singular verb was. Most was prepared. Okay, I know that does not sound right, but that's what it is. Think of class as one thing here, and not as multiple things. Like if I inserted instead of saying the class, if I said Miss Carlton's class, it probably would sound better, but nevertheless, either way it is written. Class would be singular here, and so you take the singular verb was. Now in this sentence, most is the subject, and then you have students, which is a plural object of the preposition, making most plural, and you're going to use were. So you would say most of the students were prepared, and that's a big difference from class. So if you have all, any, most, none, or some as the indefinite pronoun subject, you have to look at the objects of the preposition. The object of the preposition will determine whether your subject is singular or plural. Okay? Now, remember, this does not apply to any other rule that we have learned. When we talked about location of the subject, teachers is the subject in this sentence. At the school is a preposition. This object of the preposition does not determine the number of this subject. It's not all, any, most, none, some. So you cannot look at that at all. Okay? Teachers is plural. It will always be plural, and you will choose the plural verb have. Okay? In this sentence, you would just remove that. Teachers have gone. Okay? Like I said, this is very confusing, especially with this last rule. So you need to go back and review as much as possible. We will go over this in class often. Okay, and lastly, this is your list that you will need to know. They are listed in your book on page 451. Your singular and plural are listed there, as well as your singular or plural. They're listed under the chart. So this is how you remember. The singular indefinite subjects, you have 4 prefixes: any, every, no, and some, and then you have 3 suffixes: body, thing, and one. That will make up at least 12, your first 12 singular indefinite pronouns. So if you can remember the any, every, no, and some, body, thing, and one, you've got 12 of them memorized. Now you've got one. That should make sense as it's always singular. Then you need to remember that each is singular. Your E words, each, either has a cousin named neither, and then you need to memorize much and another. If you can come up with another way, that is great. Okay, my way to remember the plural indefinite pronouns as subject is mother, father, sister, brother, others. That's a family. A family is usually made of plural, more than one person. So many, few, several, both, others. Say mother, father, sister, brother, others. Then we've got all, any, most, none, some. I had a student last year come up with all apples make nice sauce. So I hope those techniques help you. Memorize, memorize, memorize this chart.